Hello everyone, welcome back to my series, Biggest Movie Summer Ever, in which I look back at the summer movie seasons of years past, talk about some of the big hits and noteworthy disappointments, and how they impacted movie making in general and movie watching in general, and in an effort to determine which has been the biggest movie summer of all time. I'm doing a summary video for this particular episode because we have a lot more, it's a little bit difficult to determine the cultural impact of some of the more recent films that have come out because they're so recent. It usually takes, a good long while to really get a good perspective on that. So, it's going to be a brief summary of the last few years of summer movie seasons. And then my next video after that will be a special video on what we've seen and what have been the successes and disappointments of this past summer. So let's start with 2013. The top grossing movies were Fast and Furious 6, Iron Man 3, and Despicable Me 2. All sequels, of course, all very, very popular, of course, because of the box office grosses, and they're just basically continuing on really successful franchises. Iron Man 3 is not the most beloved of the Iron Man movies, but huge hit because it immediately followed the Avengers, and everyone was all about Marvel and all about Iron Man at that time, so it made a ton of money. Despicable Me 2, big success with the first one, Steve Carell voicing the main character, and of course Fast and Furious 6 followed up the very, very well-liked Fast 5 from 2 years earlier, and it is my personal favorite in the series. I really like Fast and Furious a lot. I mean, the sixth one, not all the movies, but that particular one I thought is a great deal of fun, and ridiculous, quite ridiculous. Then we had the first Purge movie came out that summer. We had the first of the Warner Brothers' attempt to do their own shared universe series with DC Comics. Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill, came out that summer. And let's see, The Conjuring. Conjuring also came out that summer. Spawned at least one sequel and a spin-off that just came out called The Nun. I believe that's part of the Conjuring franchise. I've only ever seen the first one, I think. Although I might have seen two, but I don't remember hardly anything about it. Another very big success was another X-Men spin-off. Unlike X-Men Origins Wolverine from 2009, The Wolverine was actually a much better film and a big success, and a lot of people were very pleased by how that came out. The director, James Mangold, then went off to do Logan, with Hugh Jackman, and he previously worked with Hugh Jackman on the Meg Ryan comedy Kate and Leopold. He's a director that I like quite a bit. The Heat was a big comedy hit with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy playing a couple of law enforcement types. Sandra Bullock's a Fed, and Melissa McCarthy is a cop, and they're trying to stop some mobsters. And that was a big success. It's a fun movie. This is The End, the big ensemble comedy film with a lot of movie stars playing fictional versions of themselves. Guys like Jonah Hill and the dude from She's Out of My League. Can't remember what his name is. James Franco, Craig Robinson, some noteworthy cameos. There's a mini super bad reunion. One particular scene has Jonah Hill and McLovin and Seth Rogen all sort of having an argument during a party sequence early on in the movie. It's a fun movie and really great ending. I really like the ending of that movie a lot. It's a lot of fun. So, a few disappointments. Pacific Rim was a Guillermo del Toro movie that just got a sequel earlier this year, but it wasn't a huge success when it came out, and personally I've never been able to really finish the movie because I find just the spectacle of robots that are so enormous moving really slowly, that appear to move really slowly, to be kind of dull. So I've never actually watched that movie, unfortunately. I didn't really think all that much of the sequel. I managed to get through most of that, but ultimately, again, it wasn't something that really doesn't, I prefer something a little bit more fast-moving, or at least that appears to be more fast-moving. What are you going to do, right? Then there was a couple of very, very notorious disappointments. You've got The Lone Ranger, Gore Verbinski, the director of Pirates of the Caribbean, teaming up again with Johnny Depp. He's playing Tonto, and Armie Hammer from The Social Network is playing The Lone Ranger, of course. You had R.I.P.D., which was a comedy with Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds. about recently deceased lawmen who then police other like supernatural entities, unbeknownst to the public. Kind of like Men in Black, only for dead things instead of aliens. Didn't do very well at all, was criticized quite extensively. Elysium was Neil Blomkamp's follow-up to District 9. I find it to be an incredibly annoying movie, always disliked it. And certainly didn't get a Best Picture nomination either. Might have done okay at the box office, but not, you know, what anyone would consider like a huge blockbuster success. So that was pretty much 2013. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit too long with this. I'm just meaning to sum up some of this stuff, so I'll go a little bit faster. 2014, we had the Transformers 4. We had the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which was very, very well liked, and Maleficent, starring Angelina Jolie. Those are the three big hits. We had X-Men: Days of Future Past. We had Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. We had The Fault in Our Stars, which is a big counter-programming type film, young adult audience. Went on to win Best Movie at MTV the following year. And Edge of Tomorrow, which wasn't a huge hit, but very, very highly admired movie with Tom Cruise and Doug Liman. They went on to do American Made from last year. 2015, we had the reboot of the Jurassic Park franchise, Jurassic World, starring Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. Huge hit, huge, enormous hit. We also had the first Despicable Me spin-off, Minions, also an enormous hit. Thanks to those lovable little guys. From what I understand, it's not a great movie. I've never bothered to watch it. I've only ever seen the first Despicable Me movie, and I saw it basically on a double feature with Megamind, and I liked Megamind better, so I never bothered seeing any of the other Despicable Me movies. And of course, Marvel kicked it into high gear with Avengers: Age of Ultron. According to Scuttlebutt, it is the second most expensive movie ever made, even more so than Infinity War, which came out earlier this summer. That's quite startling, but also understandable, seeing as how so much CGI goes into those movies. Even more so, I guess, than Infinity War. That's really weird. Yeah, Age of Ultron, massive, massive. I wonder if Scarlett Johansson needing a body double for most of the movie had anything to do with that. I know they had to use CGI to put her face on this. On a body double because she was pregnant at the time. Maybe that added to the cost. I don't know. Then, after that, we had some other films like Mad Max Fury Road, which was something that everybody just went crazy for. At least the critics did, and, you know, hardcore genre fans, and it got Best Picture nomination, got a whole bunch of technical Oscars. You had Inside Out, Pixar, a big hit for Pixar, huge hit for them. You had Straight Outta Compton, which is about Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, sort of a biographical picture. Got lots of acclaim, so a success for them. And then there's some rather large disappointments. Tomorrowland, the biggest flop of that summer was Tomorrowland with George Clooney and Brad Bird, directing his follow-up to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. A very, very expensive movie, and one that I don't think is bad exactly, just maybe made some, you know, misguided choices as far as just what happens, I guess, or just the way they told the story. Anyway, big, big, big disappointment, but not quite as big as Fantastic Four. The reboot of the Fantastic Four genre is, by many accounts, including my own, totally unwatchable. Lots of reshoots on that movie, lots of strife over what exactly goes into the finished picture in contravention of the director's wishes. You had an Adam Sandler movie called Pixels, in which our heroes are fighting video game aliens. You know, aliens have taken the form of video game characters, and that was not well liked. You had Aloha, Cameron Crowe comedy with Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone playing a part Hawaiian person, and a lot of people were not happy about that. And then there's Terminator Genesis, Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back one more time to play the Terminator, and this movie actually came out 31 years after the first Terminator movie, and it's kind of a mess. You know, it's yeah, I don't care for it all that much. There's some good stuff in it, but yeah, mostly not that great. So yeah, 2015 in a nutshell. 2016, we had the biggest hit of the year, Captain America Civil War, and my personal favorite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a really, really terrific movie. Finding Dory, Pixar's sequel to Finding Nemo from 2003. The Secret Life of Pets. Those were the three big hits of the year, and two of them are animated family films. That's you know, not much of a surprise, I guess. Then you had Star Trek Beyond, which was apparently a big disappointment. Huge budget on that movie. Didn't do nearly as well as the prior two Star Trek movies, Star Trek from 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness from 2013. Did I even mention that one? No, I don't think I did. How can I miss Star Trek Into Darkness from 2013? That's really bizarre. Sorry, my notes are incomplete. But yeah, that one didn't do so well. According to what I've read, the production lost about $50 million on that movie because the grosses just weren't what they were hoping for. Another big disappointment was Ghostbusters, the reboot of Ghostbusters, starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, and Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon. A lot of people were opposed to the very existence of this movie, and when it came out, it turned out to be not all that funny, and so didn't do all that well. And there's not going to be a sequel starring those people in any case. There's a remake of Ben-Hur, huge flop, huge flop. You had a movie version of World of Warcraft, simply called Warcraft, directed by Duncan Jones, who did Source Code. That was also an enormous flop. Finally, a 20-year sequel to Independence Day, which didn't do all that great, and nobody really liked all that much. The Nice Guys, which many people really like, but really didn't do all that well. Shane Black making another sort of buddy movie in the vein of other stuff that he's done, like Lethal Weapon and The Last Boy Scout, only set in the 70s with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Also very similar to his movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I wasn't crazy about it, mostly because it felt too much like some of the other movies that he made, but a lot of people really like that movie, and I'm not going to blame them for it, because it is actually quite funny. And then there's Suicide Squad. After we had Man of Steel and Superman vs. Batman, Dawn of Justice from 2016, from early in the year in 2016, the next up to bat was Suicide Squad with Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and a few other guys as a team of bad guys that are basically recruited to, or forced, I should say, to do good deeds instead. And this is a movie that I was really looking forward to, and it became a complete mess because they decided to let the guys that cut the trailer set to Bohemian Rhapsody re-edit the movie. And it didn't work out so well. There was a lot of reshoots, there's a lot of, you know, just stuff that just didn't work with that movie at all. 2016, there you go. 2017, luckily, DC recovered nicely the following summer because they had Wonder Woman starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. Huge success. Big love for that movie, and well deserved. You had sequels to Guardians of the Galaxy, and you had the first solo Spider-Man movie in the MCU, the official MCU, with Tom Holland as opposed to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, or either one of those guys. It was the, of course, introduction from Civil War, which gave us Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and that movie ended up actually outgrossing Wonder Woman, as far as I know, which was a little odd because nobody was talking about that movie nearly as much as Wonder Woman, but apparently it made a little bit more money. But the biggest hit of the summer was Despicable Me 3. Very reliable family movie franchise. Good for kids, good for laughs, I guess. I haven't seen it. Maybe I'll get around to it one day, but it's not an urgent matter with me. But big success, of course, for that animation company, so good on them. What else did we have coming out? We had Dunkirk, Best Picture nominee from Christopher Nolan. Very, very good movie. War movie set almost entirely in England. Involving the troops that were stranded on the beach at Dunkirk and in that area, in the various areas, trying to get out of there alive. You had Girls Trip, which is a big sort of crossover hit that did very, very good business and is very well liked. And then you had a bunch of disappointments. You had Guy Ritchie's King Arthur. You had the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. You had The Dark Tower, which is an adaptation of a Stephen King series that didn't really go anywhere. You had Luc Besson's sci-fi follow-up to The Fifth Element, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, which came out exactly 20 years after The Fifth Element. You had the fifth Transformers movie with Mark Wahlberg. You had The Mummy, as I said before earlier in the video, with Tom Cruise. And of course you had the cinematic adaptation of Baywatch, starring Zac Efron and Dwayne Johnson, all of which were noteworthy disappointments at the box office. Too bad. Anyway, that is a little quick summary video of the intervening years between 2012 and now. The next video I'll do in this series, which hopefully will be up very soon, will be on looking back at this summer and seeing where things went right and when things went wrong. And then I guess I'll nominate a particular summer as the biggest movie summer ever. Don't know what that's going to be. gotta think on that. Give it a think. Give it a think. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see any of the other videos that I've already done in this series, the link to that playlist is below in the description, as is the Facebook page where I post them. But you're already here, so you don't even need to bother going over there to Facebook, unless you came here from Facebook, in which case you don't need to bother going there in the first place anyway. You know what I'm saying. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again real soon with my video on the summer movies of 2018. Later.